All right, and we're live. We got the UFC Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier card. We got an exciting fight coming up between Alex Caceres and um, he's known as Bruce Leroy. Love his nickname. Um, versus who's he fighting? versus UFC card tonight. Jesus. Card tonight versus Julian Erosa, where I've never heard of Julian Erosa before, as you guys might be able to tell. But I've been a big fan of Alex Caceres, and the tail of the tape is Alex Caceres is 34. Wow. Julian's 33. Alex Caceres is 5'10. Julian is 6'1". They're fighting in the featherweight division at 145 pounds. And Alex Caceres has a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Joe A. Martinez is the Bruce Buffer. He's doing his announcing thing. And this should be an interesting fight. I remember Alex Caceres fought Crone Gracie, and that was a short fight. Crone choked him out in like a minute or two, which was wild to see. So obviously his jiu-jitsu is not of the absolute highest caliber, but man, sometimes even the highest caliber jiu-jitsu guys get choked out by Crone really fast. So you can't fault him for that. You know, you could slip on a banana peel and be in an extremely deep submission with a lot of those super high level jiu-jitsu guys. But it's crazy because I remember Alex Caceres, when he just started fighting, and now to see him at 34, time flies, man. He was the young kid up on the scene, and now he's no longer a spring chicken. All right, first round beginning right now. Alex Caceres takes the southpaw stance, begins with a leg kick. If you see, both fighters have an open stance right now where both of their hips face outwards towards each other. That dictates some of the striking things that are available and the wrestling exchanges that are available. Great side kick from Alex Caceres. I always started my martial arts journey with karate, and my sensei, my instructor, was a big fan of the side kick and had a lot of theories about how it was underutilized. So I always loved to see someone throw a good side kick. Alex Caceres with a nice leg kick on Erosa as well. But it looks like Alex Caceres might have hurt himself a little bit on that leg kick. Erosa did a good job checking it. We got 1 minute down in the first round. Both fighters throwing a lot of feints. Still in that open stance. Ooh, Alex Caceres with a nice spinning back kick. Nice to see him throw these dynamic kicks. They named him after Bruce Lee for a reason. Alex Caceres was getting pressured up with some footwork where he was close to the fence. It was interesting to see Alex Caceres sort of pushed Erosa's arms up, and that allowed him to like duck under and get out of there. Sometimes a grappler will do that as an entry for a takedown, but he used it to move away and keep on striking. Alex Caceres with another kind of side kick type motion. Some good clean striking from Caceres. I'd say he's Bruce Leroy is controlling the fight, but Erosa looks patient and deadly and waiting for his opportunity. It's interesting to see too. Erosa's head is so far forward. You definitely, when you're fighting, you want to have your chin down and you want to like look through your eyebrows. But having your head so far forward could be a bit of a disadvantage as well as it's a target out there. Great boxers will use the position of their head to be able to control the perceived distance that their opponent is fighting from. That's something Floyd Mayweather was a master of, about how much back or forward he kept his head. So I don't know if Erosa is doing that on purpose here, but his head is very far forward. Oh, major head kick from Alex Caceres. This might be it. It's over. It's over. Herb Dean stops the fight. Oh my goodness. Crazy, crazy head kick. Bruce Leroy jumped on top of him too. Finished him with some vicious ground and pound strikes. Oh my goodness. Oh man. What a vicious, vicious head kick. Oh man. And Julian's still trying to get up. He doesn't know where he is. That's a little bit scary. Beautiful stuff. Alex Caceres went. He threw the punch, and then with the same hip rotation of throwing the punch, he came up and threw the head kick behind it. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And swarms him, gets on top of him and swarms him. You know, a lot of fighters, they're showing it again. Very much a karate kind of style, how he threw that round kick. Man. And then he finished him how someone should finish someone in a fight. The best finisher I've ever seen is Vitor Belfort. Man, if he smelled any chance that you were that there was any possibility that you were showing weakness or that he could get you out of there, he would close the show immediately without fear. And man, it's just a lot of guys don't have that innate finishing ability. And you saw a phenomenal head kick from Alex Caceres, but the follow up was just as nice in my opinion. So he gets a great first round head kick knockout. All right, who do we got next? We got Amir Alabazi versus Alessandro Costa. Where I'll be honest, I have no idea who either of those guys are. So we'll wait and we'll see. And that fight will be up soon, hopefully. It's always interesting to see the body language. They got Herb Dean about to raise the hand of whoever won, which is Alex Caceres in this case. And it's just so interesting. It's like a study in body language every time, where you have one guy who just won, who feels on top of the world, and you have another guy who just lost, who is very upset. As they say, it's the thrill and the agony. So it's interesting to see the body posture of someone who looks like truly confident and happy versus someone who looks devastated. And I guess it's entertaining both ways. Alex Caceres was one of these guys to me that is becoming like a cowboy Cerrone, where he has he probably doesn't have some real championship aspirations where he's going to win a belt or anything, but he's a good solid fighter, and he could take out a lot of guys. So he's an interesting character, and he has a good shtick, and his afro is cool too. So he's got all those good things going for him. They're showing he sort of threw an overhand left since he was standing southpaw, and then the head kick came behind it. Great stuff. There's so much too in striking where you really get a lot of your power from your hips, and if you throw a punch and you completely turn your hips all the way in throwing that punch, then you sort of lose the power of any other strike you could throw in that same direction. That's why a lot of kicks, a lot of punches are jab, cross, where you turn your body one way and then you turn your body the other way. And then it's a hook, right? Where I turn my body this way, throw the hook, and then I come back and I throw the uppercut. Maybe it's a little bit easier to see when I'm standing up and doing it, but there's this back and forth of your hip rotation and your body rotation when you're throwing these strikes. And it's interesting because the way Alex Caceres knocked this guy out is he threw the punch, but behind the punch on the same leg is the same hip rotation. So that's something that he has to like account for and do, where most of those combinations set up the hip rotation the other way. That's why you throw the jab and then the cross, the one and the two. Because the jab sets your body in motion one way, and then the cross comes and it takes advantage of the momentum you've built from already throwing the jab to throw the cross. But in this case, he threw his overhand right without fully extending his hips, and then he used this like the rest of the hip motion that he had to be able to throw the kick. And then since it was more of a karate style kick too, rather than coming like a baseball bat, like how most of these guys fight, it's a very like Muay Thai style where you throw your leg as one whole unit. In karate, it's much more of a chambering up of the knee and then a snap out with the rest of the leg. And you see a lot of times guys like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson are so good at, he has so many head kick knockouts this way where he could split up the amount of like kinetic force that his hip has to go to make the actual strike happen. And then the rest of it doesn't have to be this whole big baseball bat swing. He could just do the rest the other half of his hip motion, chamber his knee, and then snap the leg out there. And it's still a very, very effective, powerful strike, enough to knock someone out pretty easily. So um, maybe that gives you some insight in the breakdown of the different martial arts styles and different ways that you're moving your body to throw the same technique. One thing that I would love to do, if you guys don't know, I have been a martial arts teacher for most of my life. Is when I would teach karate, I would teach, okay, here's how you do a round kick, but this is how it's taught in Taekwondo. This is how it's taught in karate, and this is how it's taught in Muay Thai. And I would show the different ways of throwing the kick and show the advantages and disadvantages of each, and then let the person decide for what situation they want to enact that particular kick. Thaddeus says, is Cannonier overrated or underrated? Thaddeus, thank you so much for joining the party. Much love. I wish you well. Is Cannonier overrated or underrated? Well, Thaddeus, give me some more information here. How is Cannonier rated? I mean, I'm not quite sure what his public kind of perception is, what the public perception is of Cannonier. I think that Cannonier is good. I think that in his last fight against Israel Adesanya, he didn't look so good. But also sometimes when you're up against a superior striker who you can't get to the ground and you're forced into this kickboxing match. Ang Holloway says, who is more beautiful, Mary J or Alicia Keys? Easily Mary. I'll get to that, Ang Holloway. Give me one moment. it can be tough to judge Cannonier on his last performance um, with Israel Adesanya. Now, as far as like incredible technical ability, I don't rate Cannonier so incredible and so impressive. But what I would say Cannonier is a lot like is he's almost like an Anthony Rumble Johnson, where his striking is effective. You definitely should fear it. And a lot of times when you see these guys that move from heavier weight classes down to lighter weight classes, they carry the power, the bone density, the bone structure of the guys in those higher weight classes. They have to compete in those higher weight classes, so they have to have that strength and be competitive in that division. And then when you see they really get in good shape and they fight in the weight class that they're supposed to be fighting in, they a lot of times are a problem for the people in that weight class. So I think that's a major thing Cannonier has going for him. And he reminds me a lot of like an Anthony Rumble Johnson in that regard, probably with like a little bit less power than Anthony Johnson, because Anthony Johnson would just touch people and they'd go to sleep. But Cannonier definitely has that knockout ability. Um, Thaddeus says Cannonier is only a slight favorite tonight, but he is the name that is selling this fight. Question is, do the people care? Are you invested in his success as a name in the sport, or is he just a dude? Thaddeus, I'm on the fence here. That is a good question. Um, I would say also that he's probably not the name selling this fight. I'd say Sean Strickland um, is a big kind of name. I don't know about big, but he is definitely a name in this sport. And I would rate Sean Strickland every bit as well known and famous as Jared Cannonier. Um, Do people care? No, I don't think people care. I think that this is a lower level card. I would love to see people be more interested, but I don't think that this is going to be highly watched or well known. Anything in the UFC Apex as well is pretty quiet. But he's good enough to get a main event slot. I mean, it depends. A lot of fighters never are able to fight in the main event, so it's sort of all relative. Um, is he Conor McGregor? Like, absolutely not. Like, compared to Conor McGregor, he's like a nobody. But compared to like an amateur fighter up on the scene, like he's achieved a lot. So it's um, it's hard to say. I would not say I'm invested in his success as a name in the sport. I don't think Cannonier will ever be champion, nor do I think Sean Strickland will ever be champion. But they will be good enough to be in the top 10 and put on very, very good fights. Um, Cannonier did have a really good close fight with Robert Whitaker, who I respect Robert Whitaker's ability a lot. And Robert Whitaker's just been running through his opponents. And Cannonier put up a good fight against Whitaker. So, you know, I would hold Whitaker in that regard, where I could see Whitaker becoming champion again, and he's a name I'm interested in. I think people do care about him, but I just don't see Cannonier kind of expressing that same caliber. Him and Sean Strickland have this sort of idea where they both almost don't care. Um, they're both not as like focused as or something like that you see like the real champions of the sport are. And I think it reflects in their fighting. All right, Ang Holloway. Who is more beautiful, Mary J. or Alicia Keys? Um, Let me see. Mary J. Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige. All right. We got versus Alicia Keys. They're about to have the next flyweight fight on, but honestly, I couldn't care so much. Versus Alicia Keys. Images. All right, here's Alicia Keys. I don't know. Based on these pictures, I'm gonna have to go with Alicia Keys. Honestly, I've never really liked the way black women look. That sounds bad. Erase that. Forget that. I've dated black women before, but I've never found them to be like extremely attractive or the most attractive. I'm a Latina guy at heart. Okay, Thaddeus says, "Do you think life in Alaska is bad for the health of fighters? How important is sunlight for the health of these pro athletes? Would people from the northern latitudes do better if they moved to Florida?" I don't think anything really matters as far as location. I think like there are certain states that have better training programs than others. By the way, the Alabazi versus Costa flyweight fight has begun. But I'm just going to keep answering Thad's question. I would say that the sunlight is not so important. Maybe the only factor that I would say is important about like the location that you're from is the altitude. I have seen some fighters um, do better when they train at higher altitudes. And also, sometimes based on wherever the UFC is, whether the altitude is high, who are the all-time sexiest Latinas? I'll get to that in a second, Thad. Um, I think the altitude is something that plays a factor in these fights. There is something about Cain Velasquez where he was known as having the best cardio, but when he fought Fabricio Verdum, Verdum was like used to the higher elevation where they fought, and it sort of neutralized Cain Velasquez's amazing like pressure wrestling slash cardio game. So um, I would say altitude is a factor if you're talking about location, but not sunlight. And I would also say that there are certain hot spots in the United States and all around the world where the best training camps are. So you want to live in one of those hot spots. Like a New Mexico is a hot spot um, where they have what's the gym called? Um, I'll think of it. They Las Vegas is a hot spot for MMA training. Texas is a hot spot. Florida is a hot spot, specifically South Florida, more than Orlando. Even though Orlando has some serious fighters here, and the Jacques, the Rodolfos, et cetera, et cetera. New York is a hot spot. New Jersey, um, Connecticut is becoming a hot spot with Alex Pereira and the older Brazilian guy who was just champion. So there are certain places in the world where you're going to get the best training at those places. New Haven, New Haven. No, they train in Danbury, Connecticut, but maybe New Haven's got some good schools too. And yeah, I mean Danbury. I used to live right by Danbury, and I have family in New Haven. But yeah, I don't think if you lived in Alaska that would affect you very much, but it would in the sense that like if you didn't have anywhere to train where there was high level guys. I mean, in Florida and South Florida, they have an American Top Team gym where they have like fighters living at the gym. They have full bunkers, like full places to sleep, room and board. You're sponsored to like live there, train there. The same thing at the UFC PI. And there are these super training centers where there's champions there, high level instruction. and getting that tactical and technical knowledge from those champions are super important. Okay, who are the all-time sexiest Latinas? I would say who comes to mind is Sofia Vergara. I've um, I've always had a crush on Sofia Vergara. I think she's got to be up there. Um, is Shakira a sexy Latina? I think so. I think Shakira is Latina. You got to put Salma Hayek on that list. She's super hot. Um, Great boobs on Salma Hayek. Selena Gomez too. Oh my goodness. Selena Gomez, Ariana Grande, and Ava Longoria, Jennifer Lopez, and I don't know. That's all I got. That's all I got. But those are probably my top, whatever that was, 7 or 8 sexiest Latinas. I think Sofia Vergara. There's something about Sofia Vergara that does it for me. But Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande are all in a top 3, depending on my current mood at the time. They could all get number 1. So that's what I think. Thaddeus, who are your all-time sexiest Latinas? And is there anyone that you like from my list? Thank you so much, Thad, by the way, for participating in the stream and all of your questions that you asked. Anybody else that wants to ask questions, it's always encouraged. Always love to have that participation, and I appreciate you guys being here to watch me commentate on these fights and talk some bullshit. All right, we got a fight going on though. We got round 2 here, I believe, of these flyweights fighting. I was thinking about the sexiest Latinas of all time, so I can't tell you who won the first round, but both guys coming out in an orthodox stance. Looks to me like there's a lot of boxing in this fight. I haven't seen a single kick thrown yet. It's all been strikes. Oh, I saw a kick, but these guys are standing in the stance of boxing and seem to be throwing 99% hand combinations. Thad says a lot of the women you mentioned, it's hard to pick a favorite. I like J Lo. J Lo's definitely up there. Definitely, definitely. No arguments from me. All right, we got. I don't know how the fight got to the ground. I'm doing a terrible job commentating here. I'm just talking to Thad. But we got, I believe, Costa on top of Alabazi. Okay. Thaddeus says most of the sexiest Latina women I could think of are people whom I personally know, not celebrities per se. I would have to agree with you on that, Thad. I know a couple of Latinas that are just ridiculously hot, and not that like Selena Gomez or Sofia Vergara aren't, but um, they would put him up for a good run for their money. Anyway, we got Costa on top here in the second round, some minor ground and pound. There's an interesting thing of the inside position here where Costa frames on the biceps of Alabazi. And because he owns the inside position, he owns the inside real estate, which are the biceps, then he can determine and dictate the exchanges and throw some elbows and stuff over the top. And really, this is a battle for inside position here. So whoever controls that inside space inside my arm to my head controls the ability to actually hit the person. So there seems to be no battle here for inside position. I don't know if the fighter on the bottom is aware of this battle in the guard position, because the fighter on top seems to keep on framing, keep on owning the inside position, and therefore can always resort to ground and pound. Part of what's so powerful about the inside position is when you own, for example, the bicep, you control the person's ability to move their arm across their plane in space, to move their arm across the center line, to defend effectively. Um, and to defend their own center line. And what exists on the center line? The head. So whoever owns the inside position owns the ability to strike the other person in the head. And that's an important battle that's being fought at the upper body, at the lower body, and in each jiu-jitsu position, on the ground, and even in the standing position as well. 1 minute 13 seconds left in this second round. And again, we got, oh, I'm sorry, it's Alabazi who has the top position, who's maintaining this inside position, and Costa, who's on bottom trying to defend. What's pretty amazing, I mean, Alabazi's ranked number 8 in the world. And he's the one monitoring the inside position. And Costa, I think, is not ranked in the top 10. There's no number next to his name. Is not aware of this battle. And you would think that fighters who are in the top 10 would be aware of what is possible, like what the essential rules are for how someone strikes you or doesn't strike you from the bottom position. Costa now looking like he's trying to go for a leg lock, but his leg positioning is so poor that he's just getting pounded in the face. And I mean, maybe jiu-jitsu is not his specialty or whatever, but really poor work on the ground there from Costa. I mean, you don't need to be an absolute master of jiu-jitsu to be um, successful in MMA, but at least know when someone can hit you in the face, and how to defend yourself from being hit in the face. I have a law enforcement instructional, and one of the main things that I teach them from the guard, from the bottom of the fight, is how to defend yourself from strikes. It's so important to know and learn, and is very important for an MMA or a self-defense context where there are strikes involved. Um, and if you don't know this, you're going to get, punched and pounded in the face. And you might say, why are you teaching cops techniques on the ground? Um, I actually try to teach the cops how to not fight on the ground. I try to teach them how to make it a standing fight. But the reality is, most every fight ends up on the ground anyway. And you have to learn something on the ground to make it not a ground fight. There's a great analogy where they say, who's the best person to teach you how to not drown and get out of the pool? It's the swimming instructor. And same thing goes for the ground and the grappling and the defense from striking positions in these grappling exchanges. So we start the third round here. Both fighters coming out pretty aggressive. Both fighters coming out in the standing position. Nice front kick to the stomach by Alabazi. I apologize. Last round I said Costa was on top. It was actually Alabazi who was on top. It was hard to tell. Oh, and beautiful takedown by Alabazi again as Costa goes to commit to strikes forward. He sends his weight, his energy, and leaves his hips open as he comes forward, and it allows the perfect setup for Alabazi to go in and take him down. And you see Alabazi going back to these controls on the biceps again controlling the inside position, and aware that his opponent is not very good at defending this position. Oh, I guess Costa pummeled through one time again, but is really just not getting what he has to do to be able to defend himself from this guard position, which is kind of crazy. You see him trying to use his legs to push Alabazi off, which he just did, and get back to the standing position. So he dealt with it in a different way, but that would definitely be something to go back and practice if I was his coach. Both guys in the standing position again. Ooh, Alabazi throws some bad strikes on the ground, and it's over. Oh my goodness. Alabazi threw a crazy knockout punch and finished him on the ground. Wild. I want to see this again on replay. Yep. Oh, he fainted and then he threw an uppercut straight away, and it caught Costa clean, and then he finished it on the ground. Oh, beautiful uppercut. And then he finished it from the guard where he knew Costa didn't have great defensive acumen. Uppercut got him to the ground and finishes it from guard. Beautiful stuff. All right. Let me know, guys. What did you think of that fight? Let me know. Um, it's over. Thaddeus says it's over. Thaddeus, are you watching as well? The Amir Alabazi versus Alessandro Costa fight just ended. Amir Alabazi by uppercut knockout. Next, though, is a great wrestling fight. We got Arman Tsarukyan versus Damir Ismagulov. Two phenomenal wrestlers, and I'm really curious and interested to see what happens with that fight. Then, of course, the main event being Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland. I'm gonna get some water. My mouth's a little dry from the commentating. But the next fight is probably the fight I'm most excited for on the card, honestly, because both of these guys are phenomenal wrestlers, and they have super aggressive, forward pressing, aggressive styles. And in my opinion, they are really the future of the lightweight division. Thaddeus says, I am watching, listening to your commentary. It was an okay fight. Kind of happy it's over. I sort of agree. I sort of agree. There are some flyweight fights that I find interesting and compelling, but especially when I don't know the guys too, it's hard to sort of get excited for me about the fight. But the next one, I've definitely seen Arman Tasarukian before, and he has definitely has some serious skills. He had a phenomenal fight with Mateus Gamrot and or Matsuias or however you say his name, and they were both really aggressive wrestling forward fighters. Thaddeus says, "What do you think of Dagestani wrestlers? Are they gonna take over the game in UFC?" Well, I think to a certain extent they already have. I mean, you see guys like Khabib, you see guys like Islam. Um, Khabib's brother, um, I what's his name? Umar Nurmagomedov is undefeated in Bellator. Islam is almost undefeated champion of the lightweight division. Yeah, I mean, I think that the Dagestani wrestlers are extremely, extremely good. I think they got a couple things going for them too, where in the short time limits where you're fighting for only 5 minutes, the grappling exchanges of who decides who keeps it on the feet become more important. Where jiu-jitsu takes some time to work, wrestling is much more immediate, and there seems to be nobody better than these Dagestani wrestlers at the wrestling game. Um, I think that they all fight from a very, very young age, and it becomes like adopted into their culture and into what they do with their friends and everything. So you see guys in Dagestan that are very young that are already very, very good. So you gain this like maturity to your game when you're already still very young and in the UFC. And whenever there's something that's really good in the UFC, or in any combat sport, but specifically the UFC, then everyone studies on how to beat that style. So, uh, I believe there will be a continual rise in the Dagestani wrestling, but then you will see people who will pick apart their style, find ways to beat them, and the sport will always continue evolving. It's not like they solve the game forever. Forever. But then the Dagestani wrestlers will adapt, and the game will always continue. I'm excited for Glover Teixeira was the other fighter I was thinking of earlier versus Jamal Hill. That should be a really good fight. I've been really impressed whenever I've seen Jamal Hill fight. He came up through the ranks fighting the toughest guys, and um, his last fight was against that guy with the big hammer on his chest, and very very scary guy. And Jamal Hill won. I think retired him from the UFC with his victory. Very very impressive. And then, as far as fights go, they're showing the promo for Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno 4. That should be really, really good too. Those guys are like so exciting to watch and impressive and are amazing. I enjoyed so much watching their first three fights that they have to do a fourth, and they really kind of put the flyweight division back on the map. And then Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski should be a great fight as well. There's a certain thing too when you have two guys who really believe that they're going to win and really fight like they're going to win, and think that the other, like, that there's virtually no chance that either of them lose. That's like a really really good, interesting, and compelling fight. And I don't think you can count out Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski is serious. He has Craig Jones in his corner, who's an expert grappler, and will certainly be preparing him well for the fight. Volkanovski is extremely difficult to not only take down, but to keep on the ground. So um, I'm really excited for Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. That's a friggin' super fight and a half. And also, Volkanovski has defended his championship belt 3 or 4 times and really shown that he is at the absolute pinnacle, the absolute tippy top of um, of that featherweight division. He made Max Holloway look like he doesn't even deserve to be in there with him, which is extremely impressive. All right, I'm going to get some water before the next fight begins. I will be right back. And we're back. They got this thing where they're showing Ronda Rousey. I also got a protein bar here. Should be good. I love protein bars. They're my favorite. Man, I hate to complain and sound like a little bitch, but I had peanut butter on a piece of bread and I had put it in the air fryer. And I left it in the air fryer for a long time. But the bread wasn't getting too toasty because it had all that peanut butter on it. And the peanut butter was like molten lava. And I bit into it. And it was so friggin' hot that like the entire top of my mouth basically burned off. So anything that I try to eat now, like even this protein bar, I could barely eat it because I got no skin on the roof of my mouth. Thaddeus says, how do you feel about Ronda Rousey's WWE career? I couldn't care less. I think the WWE is whack. I think that there's more interesting, entertaining fights here. They could hire guys that actually know how to fight, which they're doing a little bit of a better job with, I guess. But it's silly to me. Never got into the WWE, and I think it's a lot of times ridiculous to watch. Thad says pro wrestling fans claim she's whack. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I guess I saw maybe some like clips or highlights on Instagram or something, but I really don't know. I mean, what I saw was she was doing arm bars and stuff, and it's like, thank God, an actual technique in that really works being used in WWE. That's more what it should be like, I think. Thad says interviews are not believable. Doesn't know how to throw an arm drag or do a good collar and elbow tie up. I mean, that surprises me because she's an Olympic judo player. An Olympic judo player should be able to do an arm drag and have a good collar and elbow tie up. But I really don't know much about the WWE. I don't really watch it ever. I mean, some of the old school, like, okay, Ric Flair, all right, he's kind of cool. Hulk Hogan, and who's the guy with the beer? Is it Steve Austin or something? Yeah, those guys are all right. I have some sort of entertainment value in watching those guys, but pretty much everyone else I couldn't care less. Or the I guess the Undertaker, right? He was big when I was a kid. So besides those major guys, I really couldn't care less. Then what are you laughing at? Was it Steve Austin? What was the guy's name? The beer guy? Steve Austin? Yeah, Steve Austin. That's right. I got it right. Thad, maybe you know of this one. But there is a WWE thing where Macho Man was great. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But I don't really I don't care for the wrestling in the ring. The wrestling in the ring is kind of whack. But there was a funny fight where Steve Austin and this black guy fight in a grocery store, and they just completely destroy the grocery store. And Steve Austin takes like a milk break in the middle of the fight, and that made me laugh. That was pretty freaking hilarious. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about. But when they're fighting in the ring, I mean, it's really not my thing. Bill Goldberg, was that the other guy that he fought? Bill Goldberg. Oh yeah, okay. Bill Goldberg. I guess Dwayne the Rock Johnson is big too, of course, but um, Bill Goldberg, is he the guy that is in Guardians of the Galaxy? Or no, that's someone else, right? Who do I got in this one? Honestly, I've only ever seen Tsarukyan fight before. I'm gonna have to go with him. Um, he had such a competitive fight with that guy Mateus Gamrot, where it could really have gone either way. I've heard good things about the other guy, Demir. Who do we know named Demir? That I feel like we know someone named Demir. But I got Armand, and I was really impressed with his pressure wrestling style. But it should be a good fight. I feel like both of these guys are very skilled, and I really enjoy more than anything in the UFC to see competition between two really skilled fighters. All right. Things are about to get underway. It's interesting just by the way that they do their like pre-fight warm up, like what they're doing with their body right before they fight. You could tell that they both wrestled. All right, beginning of round one. Here we go. Hassan, that's right, Thad. That's right. We got interchanging leg kicks here at the same time. We got oof, Demir with a nice catch of the leg kick and then to throw a hook as well. Good stuff. Both guys in the orthodox stance. Orthodox stance means that there's a more likely chance for double legs to be shot when one guy is southpaw and one is orthodox. It's more of an opportunity for single legs. That says Demir Hassan Bubblegumvich or whatever, the Serbian guy. Yeah. Hassan Begovic. I don't know. I don't know how to say his name. Nice double leg attempt here, like I said. And you see Demir curl his legs back, which is a great tactic that where you can start to do like roll through counters, and also you don't want your legs hooked Khabib style like you're seeing Arman Tarasukian do right now. The leg hook thing is very difficult because it's a dilemma in itself, and Arman Tasarukian gets to a back body lock and looks to off balance and get Demir to a 4 point position, which is always great wrestling. You always want to bring them back down to this 4 point position, break them down, make them get back up, and um, you want to get to a position where the takedowns are easier. And that is currently the position that Arman has Demir in. But good fighting of the hands here, switching to a single leg, switching to a double leg. Great chain wrestling there, and great defense by Demir by being able to throw in an underhook and to essentially take the power out of the shot that that Arman has. But a great kind of double under clinch here with a shuck to the back. This is great stuff. And great wrist control and wrist ride, though. One thing I am kind of surprised about, and this is a mistake that I see a lot in the UFC, and I just saw Arman Tsarukyan make this, is when you have a back body lock, you want to position your head in a certain way. You want to position your head on the opposite side of the side that you're on the body lock. If you have it on the other side, the guy can reach back much more easily for a whizzer. Oh, but Demir lands on top here in a scramble in the top mount. Let's see how Arman's escapes are. Apparently, they're pretty good. He does a crazy bridge and is able to get out here, which is kind of surprising. But the nature of the body lock that Arman has is just allowing Demir to reach back and throw in a whizzer, which is an overhook, which kind of puts the person back in front of you and solves this back body lock issue. So that's something Arman Tsarukyan has to fix. Where now you see this like double underhooks situation in the front, which is still in an advantageous position, but it's much better than having that body lock on the back, which is virtually the same position, just on someone's back. Nice elbow here. Another major thing in the UFC, in the modern meta game of the UFC, is these elbows off the clinch. Almost every time when people break away from the clinch, you're going to see some elbows. Demir with a nice, some nice striking right down the middle, nice straight punches. Arman with a spinning back kick. You know, last time I saw Arman fight, he looked much more impressive than he's looking now against Demir. I would say he's still dominating, he's still winning the fight, but his techniques were much more clean and polished last time I saw him fight against Gamrot. And time. That's the end of the first round. I wonder too if it's a question of his confidence, because he was on a huge tear and then lost to Matthias Gamrot and sort of like got a little bit lazy, or his techniques are lacking a little bit of confidence, or what it is that he doesn't look quite as sharp. Or maybe it's, his opponent Demir, but he was making some technical mistakes too in head position in this fight. And that's not something I would expect of a wrestler of the caliber of Arman. But it is what it is, as they say. Not so easy to do it out there in the middle of the fight. All right, round two about to begin. And they meet in the center of the octagon, both guys with the jabs, the 1-2s. Nice head kick for Arman. One thing I will give these guys, even though that they are wrestlers, is their punches are very straight. A lot of times you see like, oh, a wrestler with a right hand, but I feel like that kind of fighters sort of moving away, and you need guys that could sort of do it all, and you need to be able to throw clean, straight down the pipe middle, straight down the pipe punches when you're throwing them. The kicks look like they could use a little bit of work and some finesse, but it's interesting too to see like these guys that have like a grappling heavy style almost throw a kick like they're still in that grappling kinesiology. Beautiful single leg there for Armand. Beautiful. Wow. That was awesome. Armand with his back body lock again. You know, and a beautiful suplex from Armand as well. Looks to put the hooks in for a second, but Demir tries to counter to find a switch, but it only takes him to the ground. Armand back on this body lock, looking to put his opponent's hands to the ground. Armand put in what's called a thigh pry there for a second. And it's very important too what Armand's doing, where it's so hard to get a clean takedown, especially on a guy that's really good at defending. Oh, beautiful transition from the back body lock to the double leg there. Wow, beautiful stuff there from Armand. And looking to get back control here, double underhooks, great stuff. This position's a very double-edged position, though, because even though you're on the guy's back, up and Demir concedes to a full back position. It's difficult to carry the guy's weight in that position, but you also have slams available to you, and you just don't have the same level of control when you're on the guy's back and he's in the standing position. And let's see if he could get to a rear naked choke here. How his finishing ability is. Good hand fighting. I would like to see Armand switch to a palm-to-palm rear naked choke finish here because it looks like Demir's ability to fight the hands and to ruin the integrity of the choke by fixing the top arm. Wow. And he escapes here. Is like his main defensive strategy and being able to defend himself from this rear naked choke. So switching to a palm-to-palm there would be a better option. Oh, and a beautiful double leg attempt driving all the way across the mat. Figuring out a way to connect his hands here, and he gets it. Wow. Beautiful wrestling. I love to see that. That is not very easy to do, and he's doing it. Wraps up the legs here. One thing that you see Armand doing that allows him to get to this back body lock every time is it's very important to keep your hips and your head higher than your opponent's hips and head. I would like to see Armand, though, tighten up his back body lock control. He's had it many, many times in this fight, and Demir has escaped many times. So he really needs to iron that out where he's sort of losing all of this energy, having to take him down over and over and over and over again. When you're in that back body lock, you're in one of the strongest possible positions to take someone down in. And it's wild to see how good he is from a neutral position to fight for that double leg, drive him across the entire mat, and put him against the fence. And when you're in a more dominant position with a back body lock, you lose it, which is sort of like, it doesn't even make sense. Thaddeus says, have you ever been choked unconscious by a rear naked choke? No, not a rear naked choke. I've been choked unconscious like 3 or 4 times, but never by a rear naked choke. And that concludes round 2. Good fight so far. Let's see. One time I got choked out with a cross choke. One time I got choked unconscious with a lapel where I was in a weird position and the guy had a little lapel grip, and it was just enough to make me go unconscious. And one time I got put to sleep in a baseball bat choke. So they've actually all, interestingly enough, been chokes with the lapel. I believe if you're really, really efficient with the chokes with the lapel, a lot of times, like, you can cut off the blood supply to the neck a little bit cleaner than you do with the arms. With the arms, it takes another second or two, but those carotid arteries can get cut off more cleanly with a rope, string, or in this case, lapel. All right, both guys do the weirdest handshake I've ever seen in the center of the octagon for the start of round 3. Arman with that front leg kick to the head. This is still anybody's fight. I would give the first 2 rounds to Arman. He goes for a double leg, and then Damir fights the hands. It's interesting to see, too, how Arman decides when he's going to go through, and there's a nut shot. When Arman decides, okay, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to, drive you across the entire cage. If we go to the cage, then I'm going to start cage wrestling. Yeah, they're showing us definitely a nut shot. And how he will commit all of his energy to a shot in a particular instance. And then when Damir monitors the wrists, he just gives up on the shot immediately. So it's fascinating to see when you know when to go on, and when you know when to stop, when it will be worth the energy expenditure. 4 minutes left in this third round. Beautiful combination there from Arman. Oh, and he ducks under the punches and goes for a single leg, trips the other leg out. Beautiful stuff. Watch how he keeps his head and hips higher than his opponent's, which allows him to get to the back once again here. Let's see. A rear naked choke finish would be nice. He elects to control the back with one hook. This is known as a high ball ride, which I'm not a very, very big fan of this control, because, as you see, it easily allows people to sort of escape. But it's known and accepted as like one of the best ways to control the back. But I really just do not believe in its effectiveness. Arman in on a single leg to double leg again, and Damir threatened with a guillotine choke. They go across the octagon completely once again, and end up on the other side. Arman with a deep underhook and bicep control. There's a couple great judo style takedowns these guys could do from this type of upper body clinch, even though double leg and single leg tackles seem to be the specialty of Arman. But also, when you get these guys in the modern day, Arman sucks at securing the choke. I couldn't agree with you more, Thaddeus. But the reason why he lost at that time was because he didn't maintain the position well enough. So you have to do 2 things. You have to maintain the position that you're in, because if the guy escapes from the position, you're not even in position to do the choke. And then you need proper hand fighting techniques and understanding of which variation of the rear naked choke to apply. And Armand was lacking the ability to control him positionally. He was lacking the ability to hand fight and to select the proper rear naked choke for the scenario that they were in. But this all sounds really easy while I'm here sitting in my zero gravity chair. I'm sure it's much more difficult out there in the actual octagon. But he does this single leg trip once again. As you see, his head and hips are higher than his opponent, which allows him to get into this back body lock position. I would like to see him go for a half Nelson here to break his opponent down. And there he goes. He gets the back. Let's see if he makes us eat our words, Thad. But he does this high ball ride where he only controls the back with one hook, which means that he will probably lose the back control. Up, he snuck a hook in there at the last second, which allowed him to stay attached. But let's see here. Up, he goes back to that one hook control known as a high ball ride, which doesn't offer you great control. Although Demir is really changing and switching his position here, and when you do that, you leave open your neck. When you change and move the position, your neck sort of adjusts, and Armand loses the back control here yet again. And it's sort of dangerous to change your position because your chin relative to your chest to defend the choke changes. Demir goes with a back body slam here. Good wrist control. And I guess that's time. I wasn't really looking at the clock, but coming up soon, the official decision. I give that one to Armand, 3 rounds to nothing. I have a whole instructional on how you do all the variations of the rear naked choke, and I have an instructional. It's the same instructional on all of the best hand fighting methods on how to finish the rear naked choke. And it also has in there your positional defensive responsibility that you have to ensure that you don't lose the position for you to be able to enact the choke. So three things need to happen there at a minimum. You need to keep the position, you need to hand fight properly, and you need to use the correct variation of rear naked choke. I have all of that in my submission land instructional, which is one of my best sellers. Bruce Buffer does the announcing on my submission land instructional. It's one of my favorite products that I've ever created. And what boggles my mind is in these UFC fights, something like 60% of the submissions in all UFC fights are won by a rear naked choke. But the lack of understanding of how to properly finish that submission, the proper hand fighting methods needed to secure the submission, and how you actually go about winning the fight with that submission is widely underutilized and misunderstood. And it's actually a shame to see. We got Armand Tsarukyan, who wins the fight here. But it's a pivotal, extremely important part of MMA, and it is highly underutilized, and that is a shame. You see guys like George St. Pierre, when he goes and he locks up his rear naked choke, it's so clean. There's no hand on the head. The hand is secured right in the right position. The finishing mechanics of how you apply the stranglehold is important. I have a video that I just posted on my YouTube channel called Developing Your Squeeze. If you want, check that out. That shows you how to actually put the squeeze on to finish someone in that rear naked choke, which is very important to learn. When I first learned how to do the rear naked choke, I was unable to really finish it on a higher level person. And you need at least 10 seconds of squeeze time on that rear naked choke to make it to work, to put someone unconscious. So you need to be able to squeeze in such a way that you can squeeze the whole time while you are in the middle of the fight. What most people do, and what I did at the start, is I squeezed too hard early on and I burned my arms out before they went unconscious. And then fighting someone with burnt out arms is no fun. It's also really important to learn how to use your chest and your back, and a rotational method of your abs and your whole body to be able to finish the stranglehold. It's really not just about like flexing your arms, which a lot of people think that it is and end up with really inefficient and ineffective strangleholds. Check out the video that I just posted called Developing Your Squeeze for free on YouTube for more information about that. Going back to Thad's question of have you ever been choked unconscious by a rear naked choke? Um, I'm trying to think if I've ever been choked unconscious by one, and I don't think I have, but I have choked someone. I've probably choked 6 or 7 people unconscious with a rear naked choke, and it is very, very satisfying. It's a very satisfying feeling. Um, okay, interesting question here from Thad. If you were going to be part of a battle royale of martial arts badasses, and you could pick only race/country of origin for you heavyweight allies in hand-to-hand combat, what would you pick? You could pick only race/country of origin for your heavyweight allies in hand-to-hand combat. What would you pick? It would have to be some friggin' Ngannus. It would have to be. I'd go to Africa. I'd go to the sand mines and see if there are any more Francis Ngannou looking MFers out there. And or as my dad likes to call him, he can't remember Ngannou, so he just calls him Mandingo. Pick some giant Mandingo MFers out there, and go to war. I mean, I hate to say it, but their genetics are awesome and probably better than every other race's genetics as far as fighting, and it looks like they got running down too. Thad says, "I mean, if you had to team up with people." I'm having trouble understanding here, Thad. If you're going to be part of a battle royale of martial arts badasses, and you could pick only race/country of origin for your heavyweight allies in hand-to-hand combat, what would you pick? He says, I mean, if you had to team up with people. Yeah, I'm not understanding that. I would be an Oreo with a lot of Africans. I would want 10 Francis Ngannous on my side. If you're asking a slightly different question, maybe one that makes me sound less racist too, just rephrase it, and I'd be happy to answer it again. They're showing the promo. It's the main event time now with Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland. Should be an interesting fight. Thanks for the emojis there. There's something that I like about this fight with Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier, where it's sort of like what Thad's saying. Um, in one sense, like race doesn't win fights, and are you rooting for Strickland? Yeah, white power all the way. No, I'm just kidding. Um, there's this kind of nature of Sean Strickland where he's like out of his mind, kind of like a redneck hillbilly, um, versus like what we were saying about Jared Cannonier, where he's just like ripped out of his mind and has really good genetics. Um, what are the pros and cons of each fighter that you see in this main event? Um, well, to be honest, I've really seen more Sean Strickland on like Instagram talking shit than I have him actually fighting. I saw him get knocked out hard in his last fight against Alex Pereira. And then, I don't really know his style so well, but, you know, I would assume that he would probably want to make this a striking match. And Jared Cannonier will probably want to make this a striking match too. I mean, I don't see this being much of a grappling fight. I think both of these guys probably think that they could beat the other in a striking match, and that's probably what we'll see. Um, I think that Jared Cannonier has more power than Sean Strickland, and I think Sean Strickland will have to rely on his toughness a little bit more. I'd like to see him be like elusive and fight smart, but Sean Strickland just doesn't scream elusive and fighting smart to me. Um, I don't know. It should be interesting. I would say I give the edge to Jared Cannonier in this fight. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Cannonier because I'm not really seeing a route to victory for Sean Strickland. I would agree with that. That UFC probably wants Strickland to win because he is more of an entertaining personality. I would agree. I would agree. He talks a lot of smack, and that makes it fun. That makes it exciting. He was on a streak of winning, and I think he sort of goes out there, do or die, kill or be killed, which you got to respect. Okay, okay, I'm getting it now. Jared Cannonier has this monkey thing on his head, which man, the woke liberal mob is going to come after me after this video, but he's got a monkey on his head, and it's because his name is the Killa Gorilla. That's what his handle is on Instagram. That's his nickname. So I'm assuming the monkey hat is because he's the Killa Gorilla. And I think there's an interesting thing like Eddie Bravo talked about this, who's a martial arts icon, where fighting, there is a race element of fighting where like the Mexican guys, like Eddie Bravo, wants the Mexican fighters to win. Um, I think white guys generally want the white guy to win. I think black guys generally want the black guy to win. And as much as it's not um like it doesn't really matter to me so much, but I think that there is some element of you want your race to win. You know, a lot of people say a statement similar to what you said, Thad, where UFC probably wants Strickland to win because he has more of an entertaining personality. You know, in a lot of ways, I think the UFC really doesn't care, like who wins or who loses. I mean, in some circumstances, I could see how it matters, but like whoever wins, they're going to put their promotion machine behind him, and they're going to be famous and popular almost no matter what. All right, Jared Cannonier, 38 years old. Sean Strickland, 31. Jared Cannonier, 5'11. Sean Strickland, 6'1. They're both fighting in the 185 division. Jared Cannonier has a 77.5-inch reach. Sean Strickland, 76-inch reach. Everything is virtually identical. I think one of the only considerations that are, does the fighter speak English or not? Because most of the pay-per-view buys come from the United States, and most people in the United States speak English. So I think if they care at all, they would prefer the fighter who speaks English well to win. But other than that, I don't think it matters so much to them who wins and who loses. I think, like, yes, that also great point. Each fighter will have their own hometown going for them. I agree. Or if you're from a particular gym and the guys in the gym will be um, will be voting for their fighter as well. Or if it's a gym, like if it's a gym with many locations, like American Top Team, if someone else is from American Top Team and they're on the same team, they'll probably be voting for someone on their same team, even if they train in very different places. I wonder. Also, Jared Cannonier is 38. He's heading towards the end of his career rather than the beginning. And sometimes when you get up to your late 30s, early 40s, there's a fight where you just really start to kind of taper off, and there's always sort of that question. But I think now more than ever, you're seeing guys in their mid to late 30s become really successful in the UFC. But you're definitely closer to the end than you are the beginning. All right, round one begins. Jared Cannonier opens with a leg kick, doesn't land super clean or flush. Jared Cannonier switching back and forth between stances. They're in what's referred to as a closed stance right now, where both of their hips face towards each other. Sean Strickland looks a little bit worried about Jared Cannonier's power. Like I was saying, I mean, we're only into the first minute of the first round, but it looks like this is going to be a striking fight. This doesn't look like it's going to be a grappling match. Some leg kicks from Cannonier. A couple jabs from Sean Strickland. Teep kick from Sean Strickland. It seems like Cannonier is trying to, find an angle to attack from, and he's also switching his stance while Sean Strickland maintains the same stance. There's a great quote by the famous Japanese swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, who says, um, "I always try to see into my opponent's ear and attack them from there." And when you could see into your opponent's ear, you know you have a good angle on them, and they don't have an angle on you, and you are in a position to attack, and they are in a position of weakness. And it seems that Cannonier is using angles a little bit better. For example, seeing into the opponent's ear in this fight. What I'm noticing also is you got to see who's reacting to who. There's such an element of respect in fights where it appears Sean Strickland reacts to every feint, every thing that Jared Cannonier throws. Oh, round kick from Cannonier. Sean Strickland catches the kick, takes him down, ends up in a back body lock here. It's crazy too to see like the difference in the caliber of skill between the last fight with Arman Tsarukyan versus like the dynamicism of these two well-known guys. And they break the clinch, and they're back in the center of the octagon. Nice jab from Sean Strickland. Nice leg kick from Jared Cannonier. That looked like that hurt. Oof, and a couple nice punches from Jared Cannonier. Sean Strickland looks worried about eating more of those. Nice jab from Sean Strickland again, though. Nice jab again from Sean Strickland. If Sean could really establish this jab in this fight, that could be huge for him. Another leg kick from Cannonier. I think Cannonier senses that he hurt Sean Strickland's leg on one of these leg kicks, so he keeps on going back to it. And you see Sean Strickland is very ready to check the kicks. Also, you need to set your feet in place when you are throwing your strikes. So the more Sean Strickland is thinking about the leg kicks and not setting his feet to throw strikes, the more he's worried about Cannonier strikes, and the less he is winning the fight. So the leg kicks become a problem. That's the end of round one, and we shall be awaiting round two very soon. Let me know what you guys think of the fight. If you guys can, I would love if you went and subscribe to my channel. That would mean a lot to me. Where'd my phone go? I don't know. Could have sworn I just had it. Oh, it's over here. Gotta look up the J-Lo pictures. Okay. Round two beginning right now. I will answer your question in a second, Thad. It looks like both fighters are adapting. Sean wants to establish that jab, And Cannonier knows that it's coming and wants to counter off the jab. I would love to see Sean mix up a jab to the body as well. He got knocked out last fight with the great setup of the jab to the body, a hook to the head, which is a classic boxing setup. Um, I have in one of my videos on the jab masterclass the exact knockout and how a jab to the body can be a punch that sets up a lot of other punches, especially the hook to the head. It's very important to know how to use your jab in a striking fight. Thad says, when you think of Cannonier, do you imagine he is a man who is loading up a cannon with cannonballs, like being a cannoneer in the fight game with those power shots? Why not, Thad? Your name's your destiny, and I can see that. That's a good analogy. Sean Strickland's also got to be careful when he gets pressured up against the fence on his way out of danger on the fence. He could be clipped with something as well. You got to have good footwork to be able to get yourself off of the fence. But this is definitely a striking heavy fight. Jared Cannonier attacking that lead leg round kick once again. Sean Strickland very aware of it. And what I think is really winning Jared Cannonier this fight is that Sean Strickland keeps on reacting to Cannonier's strikes. And it makes it look like Cannonier's more relaxed, more in control, and is really dictating the pace of this fight. And that's important for the judges to see. I think that the fight's been relatively close, but with the way Cannonier and Strickland are acting, it looks like Cannonier is winning more than he actually is. Sean Strickland with a nice 1-2 as well. Strickland keeping his hands a little bit low, though. Keeping him down by his chest, sort of. He sort of puts him up in his chin, but they're still really, really pretty low. You want them high enough to be able to defend your head. Nice 1-2 from Jared Cannonier. It looks like they're talking to each other in there. Nice inside leg kick from Jared Cannonier. Nice oblique kick. A nice kick to the body from Cannonier. Cannonier is really utilizing the kicks as well, where Sean Strickland is more just using boxing and his hands. .40 seconds left in the second round. Sean Strickland with a nice flurry blitz coming forward, trying to secure the end of this round. I think Strickland's also got some nightmares of how his last fight went, and he doesn't want this one to play out the same way. Nice overhand right from Jared Cannonier. Oof. Time that ends the second round. And as I was saying there, Cannonier, a major way for him to achieve victory in this fight could be backing up Sean Strickland to the fence. And then when Strickland sort of decides which way he's going to go, he telegraphs it a bit. and then unloading a really powerful punch. Kind of Cannonier could conserve his energy and then get off a couple good strikes as Strickland tries to exit the fence. That would be a good strategy for Cannonier in this fight, I feel. If I was in Cannonier's corner, I would definitely be telling him to set that up more. And also the leg kick seems to be really bothering Strickland. Yeah, they're showing him throw that punch off the fence again. And that's a real path to victory for Cannonier. Guys, if you're watching this stream, let me know if you've seen the movie Avatar. I'm torn on whether it's worth my time going or not. Let me know what you think. All right. Round 3, I have to pee. Let's go. Both guys coming out. It's been an interesting fight where both guys seem like they're fighting at sort of a slow pace. Almost seems a bit like it's a sparring match. It doesn't have the fast pace of a fight. But I guess the fights that we saw before were flyweight and lightweight fights where they definitely move faster, but these guys are definitely fighting slow. You could give Strickland that last round too. I'd say probably Cannonier is up 2-0 on the rounds, but it very well may be 1-1. You never truly know how the judges are scoring it anyway. Nice round kick from Cannonier. Again, utilizing his legs more than Strickland in this fight, switching his stances more, being more dynamic, kicking out the front leg more, using footwork to pressure to the fence and throw strikes when Strickland tries to disengage. All great points from Jared Cannonier in this fight, but Sean Strickland is by no means out of this fight at all, and has established a healthy jab throughout the fight. So Strickland is not doing too bad either, and he had a nice blitz coming forward, landing a couple things in the last round as well. It's interesting, whenever Cannonier seems to land, Strickland seems to answer back, at least in this round, and the fight's pretty even in some ways. Oof. 2 powerful strikes there from Cannonier. Those look scary. Cannonier seems like he might be taking over this round now. Nice 1-2 to get him to the fence. 1-2 looked a little bit like they were a little bit looping those shots, but that could be a major sway in the judge's decision, where it seems like Cannonier affects Strickland strikes more than Strickland affects Cannonier as well. So all these things sort of add up. But at the same time, Sean has established his jab and is using his jab more. It always looks good to be. Oh, a nice check on the leg kick there from Sean Strickland. A nice jab. Beautiful jab. That was a really stiff jab. And several more jabs behind it. Jab, 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 jab. So many jabs. 45 seconds left in this third round. Strickland very aware of that leg kick coming. Just has to be careful he doesn't overthink it. And only be ready to check a kick rather than be ready to win. You know, it looks like Sean Strickland's fighting scared in this fight. I mean, it's got to be tough psychologically coming off of a knockout loss, like from his last fight, going against another big knockout heavy striker. But it's not good to show any level of weakness in there. Anyone see Avatar and know anything about it? Let me know. All right, round 4. Here we go. All right. Strickland comes out, starting to throw right away, trying to take the initiative. Strickland's got an interesting, unique way that he moves his hands that is pretty unique to him. I can't think of any other fighter who really sort of looks like that. Which it must be an interesting, hard to deal with style almost. Cannonier does look like he throws cannons. A nice hook there from Sean Strickland. Jared Cannonier felt that. Ooh, and a nice leg kick from Cannonier as well. Sheesh. I wonder how Sean Strickland's legs are doing. Because it looks like he only fights from that orthodox stance. So I don't think he feels comfortable throwing strikes if he were to switch his stance. Strickland checks that kick. So I think he's in a situation where he's almost forced to keep that leg in front. Strickland coming forward now. I would give him this round for now in the first 2 minutes. I would give him round 4, where it's hard. He may have won a round or two before, but I think Jared Cannonier is ahead on the scorecards, and but I would say definitively, Sean Strickland is winning this round. And it looked like from the initiative of Strickland in this fourth round, his strategy may very well be to drag Jared Cannonier out into deep water and to try to beat him in the later rounds of this fight. I think that strategy makes sense for a couple of reasons. One is Jared Cannonier has a lot of muscle on him, and that muscle's hard to carry around into the later rounds of a fight. And also, Sean Strickland got knocked out in the first round of his last fight, so he doesn't want to replay that nightmare. And just go out there and sort of hope for the best and try to win or lose in the first round. I think his strategy overall was to sort of come on strong in rounds 4 and 5, and I think that's what you're seeing here from Strickland, which is which is a breath of fresh air. Yeah, I would say Strickland is winning this round. It definitely has an accumulation of his punches that he's thrown. Nice jabs here from Strickland. I mean, Cannonier answers, but Cannonier answers again though with a nice hook. And Strickland enters the clinch here. "30 seconds left in round number 4. Like I was saying, I didn't think that this fight was going to be too much a grappling fight. Oh, Cannonier throws some major strikes when Strickland's kind of against the cage. That probably scored pretty big for Cannonier. Cannonier is just so powerful. It's crazy. And time. That concludes round 4. One more round in this fight. Let's see what happens.
Left high kicks, right fucking teeth. When he goes southpaw, blast that fucking kick, man. Hey, I don't know what the fucking score is here. You gotta go, man. You gotta add that volume on and make this a fucking dogfight. You got me? Hey, let's go get this motherfucker. What do you got, coach?
Bro, you're around. You need to make him move backwards. If you land 40 body punches this round, we win this fight. Go home with the win. And then he's going to open up upstairs. We're going to knock his fucking ass out. You hear me? Yeah. Let's go. I want to see how much you want this round.
You switching to southpaw, your right hook's money. It's there. There's no answers.
Patience, balance, and ferocity. Let's fucking go.
A lot of naughty words there from each guy's coach. But I like Jared Cannonier's coach saying that you should hurt him to the body. And then as Strickland already has his hands sort of low, then go and knock him out upstairs. I think that's a great strategy. I wasn't so in love with Sean Strickland's coach. But Sean Strickland's coach said something that I agree with is I have no idea what the scorecards are. And I'd say that's true. I have no idea what they are either. You see Cannonier attacking the body more in this round, which is good to see. And then you see Sean Strickland's hands dropping low. Thaddeus says, when are they going to actually start fighting? I hear you, Thad. As I was saying earlier, it's sort of like they're doing a sparring match. And then it's a pretty slow-paced fight. I think almost putting that... Oh, a big punch from Sean Strickland. Wobbles Cannonier. Cannonier says, bring it forward, which usually means that he's rocked and he doesn't want the person to come forward. But I agree with you, Thad. It's hard to put this fight, too, after the Armand fight where that Armand guy is just so... He's such a wild fighter. So highly skilled, so highly paced. This has been a slow-paced sparring match more so than it has looked like a fight. Ooh, a nice 1-2 there from Jared Cannonier. Snaps Sean Strickland's head back. Cannonier attacking the body more. Love that coach's advice to attack the body more. Attacks the body again. Sean Strickland seems to be biting on all of the strikes that Jared Cannonier has thrown in this fight. Ooh, a nice 1-2. You see the shots to the head landing more now that Cannonier is attacking the body. I think that might have broken his nose. You see Sean Strickland wiping his nose and blood coming out of it. Another nice 1-2. Sean Strickland wipes his nose again. I would not be surprised if his nose broke on one of these last giant punches. The strategy of going to the body and going upstairs is really good. I mean, that's the strategy Sean Strickland lost with in his last fight with Alex Pereira, with a jab to the body, hook to the head. Yeah, you could see Strickland is in some pain here with his nose, wiping his nose yet again. Also, if your nose is broken and blood's coming out of it, you can't breathe out of it, which makes you have to open your mouth and breathe through your mouth, which then makes your jaw more susceptible to being knocked out as well. Both guys look like they're actually starting to fight now, Thad. Throws a spinning back fist here. One minute left in this fight. "39 seconds. Both guys not landing with a ton of conclusion. Cannonier attacking the body again. A couple nice strikes from Strickland there. Nice overhand right from Cannonier. 10 seconds left. And time. Pretty good fight. Pretty good. I mean, not the greatest fight I've ever seen, but pretty good fight. All right, Thad, who do you got? Who won? Tell me. Let me know. I think they're probably going to give it to Cannonier, but Strickland made a bit of a comeback in the later rounds, so hard to say. Hard to say. It's a hard fight to score. All right, they're showing the strikes. 116 significant strikes to Sean Strickland's 122. Significant head strikes, 53 to 109. "27 leg kicks from Sean Strickland to 1 leg kick for Sean Strickland. 1 leg kick from Sean Strickland, 27 for Cannonier. That's important. Okay.
In the octagon for 2022 is the decision in our main event. For that, here's Joe Martinez.
This is the last fight of the year.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards. Here are the totals. Judge Cleary scores at 49-46 for Cannonier. D'Amato, 49-46 for Strickland. And Camijo scores it 49-46 for your winner by split decision, Jared, the Killer Gorilla Cannonier.
I'm here with the winner, Jared Cannonier. Jared, congratulations.
There you have it. Jared Cannonier wins 49-46 one guy, 49-46 the other guy, and then a final 49-46 for Cannonier. Crazy fight as far as very hard to score, but it is what it is. Guys, thank you so much for coming to my stream. Please make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. I love you all so much. Thank you for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Please subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.